You're listening to Mile High Insiders with Nick Kendell and Luke Patterson. Head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all things Broncos. Now, it's time to find out what's going on behind the walls of UC Health Training Center.
All right, it's rolling here. We got to get the Facebook group up and going before we officially off the ground. You know, we're kind of coming down the runway right now. The wheels are up. We're airborne. Saturday night, Mile High Insiders. Luke, the wheel is yours.
What's up, man? What's going on? It's Saturday night. I already see some guys in the show. This is Mile High Insiders. What's up, Jay? One guy's opinion. Our good guy, Charlie Beagle, in the house. I see you. I know Mundungus is going to be in the house. He'll be chirping us a little bit later. But welcome, Broncos country. It's MHI, Mile High Insiders on Saturday night. I'm Luke Patterson. He's Nick Kendell. What's going on, Nick? How was the week, man?
Hey, it's going pretty well. I've just been writing articles like a gosh darn madman. It's, the 6th of March right now, and I've already submitted 12 articles to Chad for this month. So 2 a day is a pretty good clip. And getting excited for summertime. Already getting some. We find out in a couple weeks if we get our enchantment bids accepted or not. Got a trip coming up in May. Planning on another one in September. So carpe diem, baby, living it up.
He's living it up, man, like some Limp Bizkit. Yeah. Living it up, not giving up. You know what I mean? In the fast lane. So what's up, MHI? Yeah. I'm so happy to be here. I had a gnarly day working through technical issues from last week, so I promise they will not happen again tonight. Appreciate you guys rolling with us. But, Nick, speaking of writing and putting in that work, I've got some articles that are on deck. I know Chad's waiting to publish at least one of them. But one article that we got to talk about is an article that you wrote today at milehighhuddle.com where one Broncos insider, I'd say one of the most prominent NFL insiders, maybe one of the most prominent sports writers in the world, is reportedly breaking some news regarding a veteran free agent quarterback. Tell us a little bit, give us a little bit of a preview about what we're going to be talking tonight on MHI.
I mean, it's obviously George Paton's had his press conference with Fangio, and we heard that the Broncos definitely sound like they are interested in bringing another quarterback to the room. They're not going to go with that, kind of hapless backup situation that they had last year with Jeff Driscoll and Brett Rippon. And if Kenneth Booker's out there, Kenneth, I'm sorry, he has just such a soft spot for Brett Rippon. So anytime I give him a hard time, he gives me a hard time back. John Clayton came out and laid down a recent article for 104.3 and discussed some of the options. And there was some breaking information there. It's not official yet, but it was some information that I had not heard yet that I would say Clayton definitely broke. So we won't get to the intro, but then we'll come back to it.
Yeah, for sure. And Clayton, man, I love that guy. And Mundungus, I'm already talking to you. You don't never diss the master of Slayer, the rock god himself, John Clayton. We will be getting to him a little bit. And guys, go head on over to milehighhuddle.com where Nick just posted a new article that we're going to be getting into tonight. This is the Mile High Insiders. And if you're on Facebook, you could find us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And it looks like we're just having some new banners and some little, I said no technical issues. I didn't say anything about visual stuff. But guys, you guys know where to find us at MHI_football pod, at Nick Kendell, MHH. I'm at Luke Patterson, LP.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick, John Clayton said, what, last week we had just talked about it. John Clayton said that the Broncos, they reached out. Now, I know everybody's saying tampering, that's tampering. Nick, you said it last week. I said it last week. This is what happens at the NFL Combine. The NFL Combine is just as much about free agency and trades and all these wheeling and dealing type scenarios. And a lot of them, John Elway's gotten done a lot of good deals at this Combine. He's gotten done some pretty poor deals too. But talk about the importance of that, because some people, I think they're brushing it off. Others are saying that the Broncos are cheaters. I promise you the Broncos are not the only ones doing this. This is just the way business is conducted in the NFL, especially in a new NFL, right, Nick?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough to win, right? Ask Bill Belichick, ask the 2013 Seahawks defense, right? Yeah, grab until they don't call it anymore.
Ouch.
But sorry to bring up some bad memories there.
Yeah, man.
It's really Ryan Fitzpatrick is reportedly going to be ducking out. It's not official yet, obviously, but if John Clayton's saying it, then, your ears should perk up, because he's probably, he's got skins on the wall, right? He's one of the most well-known, renowned NFL insiders in the league. And Denver really gets a gem bringing him into the market himself. But in his piece, he said, quote, Ryan Fitzpatrick looks like he's going to retire. Broncos did make some contact with him. He's been with 8 teams and played a very long time, but it looks like he's going to be out of the mix for all 32. So that's obviously interesting for Denver. How much would Ryan Fitzpatrick, move the needle for this team, the quarterback room in general, a guy who could come in, compete with Locke, maybe beat out Locke, but more likely if Locke, regressed or struggled, could come in and replace Locke. Or if Locke got injured and missed time for a 3rd straight season, that's worth noting as well. But it sounds like he is going to bow out. A good career, Harvard grad. I remember him coming up. The first team probably was the Rams. I feel like he came up and was like, hey, this guy from Harvard playing quarterback for the Rams. Right. Let's see if he can stick around. And
23 years old.
He did. Yeah, no, really good, fun quarterback. Probably there's a little bit of Jameis Winston to his game because he will throw some unbelievable down the field footballs and windows that don't exist, but that comes at a reckless nature from time to time. But, good quarterback. And if he does bow out, it just shifts the quarterback market, right? It's kind of the butterfly effect where one of those guys go and, one thing after another could change. And there are so many quarterback needy teams right now. You have most obviously the Patriots, no quarterback there right now, right? Who are they going to go with? The Bears, no idea. The Washington football team, no idea. So those are 3 teams who are desperate. They don't have options right now. But then you also have the Carolina Panthers, who are reportedly going to be extremely aggressive. The San Francisco 49ers, who are reportedly going to be very aggressive. So we will see what happens. But one less quarterback out there. And this doesn't even count the teams that are looking for, in the same situation as Denver, looking for a viable backup, veteran hedge kind of thing. So there are quarterbacks out there, but if Fitzpatrick does bow out, you just have one less card you can play as George Paton looking to improve the quarterback room.
Hey, if Fitzpatrick bows out, I'm okay with it. I'm absolutely okay with it. It doesn't hurt me. I don't have anything against him. But I almost feel like it's in role models, right? When the McLovin dude is asked, like, do you like Coke? He's like, oh, I like the idea of it more than I actually like it. That's kind of where I am with like Ryan Fitzmagic. Like, I like the old Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's kind of that every other year quarterback. Would he make the room better? Yeah. Definitely. He's, a very smart player. He's a likable guy. Everyone loves him. Yeah. You don't hear a bad thing about him, which is extremely rare in today's society. So I don't think it would hurt, but I'm not hurt over Fitzmagic not coming to the Mile High City, at least for now. But somebody is, Nick. Somebody is. And it's saying Michael Clark on there, but you guys know him as Mundungus Creevy, our good friend from MHRT, with a huge super. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah,
appreciate it, Mike. But I'm going to call you Mundungus because you're a friend. $49.99 super. La 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 la. I'm not listening to your Fitzmagic lies. La 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 la. Fitzmagic forever. Now, guys, go on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH, at Luke Patterson LP, at John K MHH, and you will see Mundungus chirping us a little bit because here's the thing. This was a report, Nick, right? Anytime reports come out, what happens? Reports get refuted. Teams try to back up a little bit, right? Beep, beep, beep. Let's back this bus up. No matter who we run over, we're going to try to back it up. Now, this is just a report, but considering the source, man, I hear you, Mike. And Mike had a really good point, and a point I want to make for him. He said, look, man, this could be, and I think it was Richie too, Richie and Mike together. They're like, look, this could be a bargaining tactic if you're Ryan Fitzpatrick. While I respect that theory, and that could certainly be a possibility, I don't think Fitzpatrick's at that point in his career where he's severely trying to one-up the competition via bargaining. What are your thoughts on that? Because I feel like it's a possibility. I just don't feel like it fits with Fitzmagic.
Well, first off, let's get to Chris Hernandez here rocking the obviously the shirt for some of the swag. Fitzmagic equals Coke.
Shirt there.
You heard it here first. Hashtag click those little thumbs up. Well, Chris, thank you very much for the comment.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if somebody comes out and says like, Fitz, we're going to give you $12 million for 1 year, I think he'd be listening, right? But like, there comes a point where
a lot of
like,
money.
Are you willing to overpay for Fitzpatrick for the caliber of quarterback he is? Maybe Mundungus is, but I'm not. I mean, there's other options out there that of similar tier. It's just like you can go get some other guys.
Nick, all right. So you're thinking, do you think Fitzpatrick is asking for 12? It's so hard, right? Because we don't know what these guys want, but not going to hold you to it. If you had to guess, what do you think a veteran quarterback like Ryan Fitzpatrick would be fetching? Because that he wants to start. What happens with veteran quarterbacks when they want to start? They take less money to go to worse off teams most of the time. What number would you think Fitzpatrick, or a range, would be reasonable for him to come in as a team to at least compete for a starting job? What figure are you giving that?
I think I'm probably setting a budget for about $7 to $8 million. And if anybody would be willing to take that, then I'm interested in bringing them in. But anything over that, if somebody, like, let's say, again, we have some really desperate teams out there for quarterbacks, the Washington football team, Chicago Bears, and New England Patriots. If they wanted to pay him, or a quarterback in general, just quarterback X, $12 million, and I'm only looking at 7 to 8, let him go. I have other options where, again, none of the options are going to be great, probably, unless you're willing to change the market and pay 12 to 14 for a Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota, which at that point, you're paying that guy to come in, either of those guys to come in and start. I think if you're bringing Jameis Winston or Marcus Mariota in, I would expect them to beat out Drew Lock and start. So we will see. We got Casey Martin coming in here. Is Fitz better than Lock? Is he going to get us over the hump against the Chiefs? Is he worth the $5 to $7 million he made last year? I hope he does retire. I mean,
did you hear that, Mike? Did you hear that, Mundungus, dude? Because Mundungus will come out and start roasting people. Mike loves Fitzpatrick, and I get it, because what have I always said? If you love a quarterback, go get him. Now, I think you know what you're getting in Fitzpatrick. You're getting a good quarterback, but is he better than Locke? I would say yes. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick is better than Locke. Is he going to get us over the hump for the Chiefs? No, because this team is not just a quarterback away, even if it's Deshaun Watson necessarily.
I might disagree with that one.
Nick, come on, man. How many points?
That Chiefs roster is
Vic
not
Fangio,
great.
Everyone thinks, I know, but you know what? Everyone thinks Vic Fangio's defense, they were missing some guys, dude. They gave up between 417, 434 points? Not good. I mean, so they need improvement. The offensive line is no longer a problem, but gosh dang it, man. This team needs a lot of work. They need reps.
Yeah.
They need reps because they're young. So for me, is he better than Locke? I think so, but I don't know about him getting us over the hump. Let's start getting to some of our folks saying what's up.
Pabby in the house.
We'll get to some of our supers. Pabby, hi. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Saw some excellent family pictures on Facebook the other day. Always love seeing the family and embrace you guys as our family on Mile High Insiders as well. Oh, the male killer is in the house. Muhammad Badri, always repping that swag. What's up, buddy? And Mundungus Creevy saying yes to Fitzmagic. Give me Fitzmagic. All right, Mike, I want to know why. Tell me why you like Fitzmagic, because I want to go over some stats real quick before we get into the quarterback roller coaster and some comments from Broncos new GM, right? George Payton and head coach Vic Fangio. We've got a lot more to get to. We're, I think, about just one segment in here on your Saturday night. So before we do, Nick, I'm looking at Ryan Fitzpatrick's stats. He's played for 8 teams. Coming out of Harvard, just like you said, at 23 years old. And looking at his entire career, this is a quarterback that has played 165 games. He's got a 60.7 completion percentage. He's thrown for almost 35,000 yards. He's throwing for 223 touchdowns to 169 interceptions. This is a guy that's played a lot of football, Nick. And as I look at him, Pro Football Reference is my jam. That's what I use. I absolutely love it. There are other sites out there that are great too, but for me, it's Pro Football Reference. Why? Because you see nicknames. So you see Fitzmagic there, but Nick, I'm seeing a new nickname for Ryan Fitzpatrick that I've never seen. The Amish Rifle is sitting on here on Pro Football Reference as actually the first nickname. So it goes Ryan Joseph Fitzpatrick, Amish Rifle, or Fitzmagic. Maybe that's why Mike likes him so much, man. Maybe it's one of those things.
Amish beards of feather flock together, whatever. Really important here, though, from Charlie Beagle, before we get going too far. Sock and a shoe, or sock and then shoe and then shoe. So how do you put your socks then shoes on? I'm definitely a sock then shoe guy.
Yeah, I got to put my 2 socks on. And it's funny we're talking about this because I just got fancy socks and they're actually blue Under Armour socks and I absolutely love them, right? I know, I love them. I was telling my wife I feel all cool with them on. She's like, those are bright socks. I'm like, don't hate on my socks. So yeah, I definitely got to go socks. I'm not a big fan of walking barefoot. I'm a total, I just can't do it. I'm too sensitive. So that's just me.
So I do it for everybody's enjoyment. Hunter Worthington coming in here. Men, if the Broncos run it back this year with Locke and he doesn't pan out, is next year's class worth banking on? If not, wouldn't it be 2 more years before there's a solid prospect? I mean, you're asking us to predict the future. And as we've seen over the last year, predicting the future and what's going to change, a month from now is a fool's errand. So I would say on the surface, next year's class doesn't have the obvious traits guys that you saw in this year's class. I mean, a year ago, everybody knew that Trevor Lawrence was going to be really high pick. Everybody knew that Justin Fields was going to go really high. And then after people got eyeballs on him, also obvious traits, everyone knew Trey Lance had like incredible tools. I don't really see that with next year's class at this point. There's not guys who are these height, weight, speed, arm talent, athlete combinations that you saw those top 3 in this year. You obviously had Zach Wilson coming off shoulder injury, really elevate his game. Mac Jones came from relatively nowhere. I mean, he was behind Tua at Alabama, but I don't think it's as good of a class. And if the Broncos do punt, I think this is a good point. The Broncos do punt this year. That's bad. But also if you're picking, let's say the next year, the Broncos, Chicago bears it to the playoffs, and they end up, getting they don't belong, right? They make the playoffs, but they don't belong. They get kicked out in the first round with a Mitch Trubisky type quarterback, right? Or even Mitch Trubisky himself. That's a possibility. We haven't talked about him today. And then you're picking in like 19 to 24. You can't go up and get a quarterback then. You're screwed.
No, you are screwed. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And Hunter, I appreciate the question and I like it because you're trying to plan for the future. I like that because that's more proactive than reactive. But Hunter, I think there's some generational quarterbacks here, Nick. I think I'm coming around on your guy, coming around on Trey Lance. I'm watching some film on Trey Lance. I'm definitely curious if he was sitting there and everybody's running their mocks, right? Run your mocks, run your mocks, run your mocks. There's been some mocks where I was able to trade up and I'm thinking about it. And my boy, Zach Wilson, I absolutely love. But speaking of the love, let's get to it. What's up, Diamond Rattler coming in the house? Oh, snap. What it do on MHI Saturday night? Appreciate you guys coming in. Robert Caslow's in the house too, saying choose first. James Campbell, one of our own, Cam Newton and Trey Lance. Let's go. Our good friend.
That's a good combo.
Oh, God. No. Cam Newton? No.
I think Cam Newton is a really good positive regression candidate for next year because he was on an absolutely terrible. I mean, what were people saying about Brady a year ago? Dude's arm's done. He stinks.
Are you comparing Cam Newton to Tom Brady?
No. But I am comparing a quarterback being held down by the supporting cast, which is the New England Patriots offense.
I'll give you that, but gosh, dang, Cam's body is so worn and beat. Tom's isn't. It's weird. It's, because Cam has got, Tom's got more miles on him, but Cam's got less tread. That's the weird thing about it for me, just because is he a freak? Absolutely. Does he find the end zone? Sometimes passing. I think only 8 touchdowns this last season. But to your point, that's why Tom Brady wanted to get out of there. So I certainly respect that
Cam
opinion.
Was pretty darn good early in the season, and then he had the sick little bug, as Carl's daughter likes to call it, because we're not supposed to say it on here. And then the wheels fell off from there. I mean, people were like, "Oh my gosh, Cam's back." Week 3, week 4, and then he fell off. So obviously I'm not saying you have to go out and get Cam Newton. I just think that a lot of people have a negative connotation with him. I don't know if it's the Super Bowl stuff or just the guy who's talking out there, but if you wanted to,
some of it could be his comments that he made previously. Now he did apologize, to a female reporter. Here's what I will say, and I've never been a Cam Newton guy. I was super impressed with the way he handled himself with that kid that went out there to troll him at his own camp, because I feel like a younger Cam Newton would have definitely clapped back. I'm not saying he would have, hit the kid or anything, but I think he would have talked some trash, maybe said some things he shouldn't have said. And I do think you've seen a transformation with Cam Newton. The guy's obviously been a man and a beast almost his entire life, but he's become a different man. I think he's a father now. I think he's married. You see guys develop throughout their lives too. So I certainly wish the best for Cam, but I'm not so sure. John,
Newton and Lance together, because I mean, you had Mike Shula, who was his offensive coordinator. Cam's Newton's rookie year. You're looking for a quarterback upgrade in Denver, and I think offensive system wise, you want to have two guys that can run a similar offense. You don't want to have the Trevor Siemian, Paxton Lynch dichotomy where you have to have two completely separate different offenses going in and out. So I think that's the biggest argument for it.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
What's Cam Newton going to do? Tell Trey Lance, this is what you don't do in the NFL. You don't run because you're going to get beat down. Like, I want these quarterbacks to scramble and get away, but even Aaron Rodgers, dude, remember all the flack that Aaron Rodgers took too for like taking too many hits and not sliding right and some of those things? Like, I just worry about that, but I see your point. Your point is, you mold you mold your offense to your quarterbacks. It's not because the other way around, Nick, it hasn't worked. And that's what we're seeing in Denver right now. But thanks so much, John, for throwing this back up. Braden Poff coming up, with a $1.99 super. Thank you so much for joining MHI. Appreciate the donation. Luke, you're a buster. Come on now. I am a buster. I have been known to be a bit of a buster. It's busting chops, always busting chops. Tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong, Braden. Is it about Trey Lance? Is it about Fitzmagic? Give it to me, because I want to start getting into some of these supers and some of these comments. Here we go. There's no more Mike. Mike is gone. Mike left MHI for the evening. I don't know who this guy is. Mundungus Creevy coming in with a 1999 super, a friend of, once again, MHRT. Go check him out on Twitter. Locke and Fitzmagic have the same skill set. Locke is Fitzmagic in 12 years, but Fitz is able to handle the mental aspect of the game. If Locke doesn't work out or gets hurt, you have the older, smarter version of Locke right there. Interesting point, Mike. Mundungus, you crazy character, you. An interesting, similar skill set. I'm not so sure. I hear where you're at, saying they have a different quarterback IQ, if you will, but maybe the turnovers, those are comparable. Talk to me there. I'm trying to explain. I
think it's probably the propensity to test windows that maybe they shouldn't, and sometimes it results in wild plays, and sometimes it results in hair-pulling turnovers. Biggest thing is I think Fitzpatrick is a better processor and reader of defenses than Locke right now, and also has shown better accuracy. But I think Locke is a better athlete and has better natural arm talent. So if it clicks for Locke, he has a better ceiling than Fitzpatrick. But I mean, he still has a ways to go, and there's issues that he's had dating back to his time at Missouri that we haven't seen very much improvement. And it's not like, people say Locke is raw. He's not raw. He's got mechanical deficiencies that have been there the whole time. And, 50 starts in the SEC, some of that stuff might be ingrained. It's worth pondering. So it's concerning. I definitely think, and you've heard me say this on here, it's definitely a moderate viewpoint, but like if the Broncos wanted to run it back with Locke next year, you can do worse because there is still tangible upside, and he's only $2 million against the cap this year. The Broncos have flexibility because of that. They have a fallback. At worst, you call it a fallback, and that's not the worst place to be. It's not like you have to go out there and pay Case Keenum, right? Like that's when you're in a really bad situation, or you have to trade for Joe Flacco. That's when you're screwed. Like and the PR team, whatever, will try to spin it as best they can. We still think Joe Flacco can be elite. Like that's when you're like, oh man, just play taps. It's over. But I think that at least there's some tangible upside and fallback and flexibility with Locke that puts the Broncos in an okay situation, but it does not mean that he will be the guy.
Speaking of being the guy, Mundungus is saying, Casey, you are not the guy. Listen, Casey Martin's in the house, and Casey's chirping our good buddy Mundungus, saying, and Casey, you're not right, says Mike, dude. Prove Mike why he's wrong. We're trying to do it, and I don't know if we're doing a good job because Fitzpatrick, he's a better quarterback. He makes the quarterback room better. I have no argument against that. I'm not sure if I like it. And I want to get to Mundungus's last. Can we get the last one up real quick, Jay? And then I'd like to start transitioning. We could still talk some quarterback, but I want to get Broncos Country's feedback on the press conference too, Nick. You and I were texting about it as it was happening. We talked about it before the show. But Casey, by last year's ranking, everyone is better than Locke. Nick, I think you even wrote up the piece. Maybe it was you. It was somebody at Mile High Huddle. I feel like it was you, though, that wrote up the piece. I think that Drew Locke was ranked, 33 on ESPN.
Me, but Yeah.
Yeah, we had somebody. It might have been Chad or somebody else.
I think it was
somebody
Chad.
or Zach. Yeah, it might have had Chad. He's always typing away, writing at milehighhuddle.com. But the NFL, they're coming out and they're giving Drew Lock a little bit of hate. Saying, man, this guy's not that good. The stats, they certainly reflect it. But with everything else, you got to look in context. You got to go back. You got to watch the game film. And speaking of game film, Broncos GM George Paton said that he has gotten a chance to go through some extensive game film of Drew Lock. He sees Drew Lock on a daily basis. And, of course, Drew's kind of doing his own thing out there at the building. What did you make of George Paton, his comments about Drew Lock? I know that he called Drew Lock a little inconsistent at times. I think he said he liked his upside, or he likes where he's at right now, something similar to those effects. But George Paton, he likes to play his cards close to his vest. What did you make about his comments about current starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos, Drew Lock?
Incumbent Drew Lock. Honestly, these press conferences, while they are good to get, a clip and a blip here and there and some insight, I felt like 90% of it was, what you would expect a generic answer to be like. You could play the Madden game and have a press conference and be like, auto-generated response here. And that's kind of what you got from Drew Lock. Like, oh yeah, he's tools the upside. We still believe he can get better. Case closed. Like, okay, well, thank you. But there was some stuff that I pulled from it, but not much from the quarterback conversation, other than the fact that quarterback conversation pivoting a little bit. Somebody asked him if he would consider a quarterback at 9, and he said, we consider quarterback, safety, anything, best player. So, I mean, again, kind of a non-answer, but also not a full-on, we are not considering quarterback because we have our guy. So, that's the most I could take away from any of the quarterback conversation from Paton.
Yeah.
And, again, shout out to Patrick Smythe, gets those guys ready, good to go. And I think Patrick Smythe, whenever he's done working for the Broncos, he's got a job in the Oval Office or the press briefings up there. He's one of the best PR guys there are.
I'm of the opinion that when things start to transition, that Patrick is very much so in the running for moving up in Broncos brass. I think
Joe
that
Ellis Jr.
Yes. And maybe even a higher ceiling, dare I say. I mean, the guy has accomplished so much at a young age, and I absolutely love the guy. Eric Schubert
too.
Yeah, there you go.
Right from the combine, I was like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
Looks like a White Walker out there for
good looking cat.
Muhammad out there.
Good looking, a male model, just like Muhammad Badri out there. And then our guys, I've gotten a little close with them, Seth Medvin and Eric Schubert. Shout out to those two guys. They helped me out tremendously here in Denver. But let's let it rip. Let's get back to some of these comments here. Robert Caslow's in the house asking what kind of teams are interested. I'm not sure if we're talking quarterback there. Be sure to answer us back. But Nick, let's talk a little bit more about this press conference. And guys, keep these comments rolling. We want to be sure to get to you guys. We're about halfway through the show right now, and we're getting through a lot. And I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking quarterback all night. But Nick, I guess if I was going to ask you my first impression of the George Paton press conference, I love everybody. We want to have everybody back. Totally expected it, but I think that there were some players that weren't necessarily talked about in those lights, and sometimes that makes us speculate and wonder what's being said, what's not being said. What did you make of George Paton's comments about wanting Justin Simmons back, possibly wanting Kareem Jackson back, and they're working on some things? And that's an article that I wrote about last week at milehighhuddle.com, suggesting that he could be a cap casualty. Another report by John Clayton. And when John Clayton says something, I know you and I, we're usually the first ones on it. We're watching it because when the professor speaks, we rock on. What did you, Mom, I'm almost done with my segment. And we slay with John Clayton, our guy. Nick, what did you make of George Paton, what he said about players and what he didn't say about players? What'd you think?
I think that Von Miller and Kareem Jackson are still 50-50 coin flips, whether or not they are back or not next year. Both those guys, that they're approaching both of restructures, but that deadline is coming up quickly for those contracts to be guaranteed. So that one, we'd love to have them back, but what is the reality? After that conference was over, I was checking Twitter like, man, we could see 10 minutes from now to announce that the Broncos have not accepted Von Miller's contract option or they've released Kareem Jackson. The other ones that I think were interesting was probably how non-committal he was with the running back position in general. Now, obviously, the Broncos seem on the surface pretty darn set at running back for 2021 with Melvin Gordon, with Philip Lindsay, and I mean, Royce Freeman's rookie contract running back. There's still some value there. But he made it sound like, Lindsay, yeah, we'll tender him, but which one we don't know. If the Broncos use a original round tender on Lindsay, he's gone. He's in the wind because he was an undrafted free agent, and that means a team like Arizona it's Arizona, San Francisco, wide zone team, spread team. He'd probably be gone if they did the original.
Baltimore's been wanting him since he went undrafted.
You think they do now? They got J.K. Dobbins now. Yeah. They invested in a second round pick in him.
But they got rid of Mark Ingram, right? So
we'll see.
What's Philip Lindsay gonna cost, right? I know you're not a huge pay the running back or draft him in the first round, and neither am I. And I like Najee Harris a lot. Dare I say at the Senior Bowl, just looking at him reminded me a little bit of Derrick Henry, just his physical, imposing stature. But no, I wouldn't draft him in the first round. What do you think, Bill?
Might be a hot take. I might like Javonte Williams more at North Carolina. I think he's actually a little bit more explosive.
I like Chuba Hubbard, and I like even more Khalil Herbert's my guy. I like Khalil a lot.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
But before we get there, you know who else we like a lot, and she loves us. We love her. Thank you so much, young lady. And of course, I'm talking about Bobby coming in with a $50 super, saying thank you so much for making the podcast so welcoming and enjoyable. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much, Bobby. I love the picture. It looks like you're behind a gorgeous, gorgeous backdrop right now. And I don't know what the weather's like where you're at right now, Nick, but it was absolutely beautiful today in the Mile High City. Got out and about a little bit. And guys, if you can get outside a little bit, listen to the pods online outside. If you're hiking, if
walking
you've got
your dog.
Yeah, exactly. Get at us. Yeah, get at us anytime at milehighhuddle.com. And Bawana coming in with
I want to give Bobby a shout out too. She sent us obviously a really nice Christmas gift. I got my calendar that's always right here as well. That's super great. But she sent us like a tie blanket, Broncos one. And I have a basement here because the basement gets really cold. And I kid you not, every day Summit comes down here and picks it up and takes it up the stairs and lays on it. He loves that blanket. I know,
bastard. Right? What a bastard. No, the dogs, my daughter's taking mine. She's totally stealing it, and I sent a picture of my daughter wearing it, and I think I even tweeted it out, but she's stolen it. Bobby's a dear, dear friend of the show. We appreciate your support so much, and all of you guys here on MHI. And Bobby's saying, what's up, Nick? Say hi to Summit for me. Nick, I'm his biggest fan. Summit, of course, Nick's lovable pooch. Just ask him about it. You'll see that troublemaking. God, that guy, he's ornery. I know he is, but he's a good-looking pup. Get at Nick Kendell, at Nick Kendell MHH on Twitter. I'm Luke Patterson, at Luke Patterson LP, and this is the Mile High Insiders. Get at Mile High Huddle on Twitter. Get at milehighhuddle.com for some of your best Broncos content. If you're joining today via Facebook, give us that little thumbs up, like, subscribe on YouTube, and give us a rating as well on Spotify. But let's get back to some of these hot takes rolling in, because I always love hearing from Broncos country. We have such vast opinions, conflicting opinions, but educated opinions. And here we go. CC coming in with a comment here on MHI tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. He's saying restructure Kareem Jackson. I don't think his play is living up to the contract, and he is getting older. CC, here's where I'm going to roll with you. And then Nick, I'm going to kick it off to you. I think Kareem Jackson should be restructured, because I think Justin Simmons will get a deal done with the Denver Broncos before that tag deadline is due. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong. July 17th?
15th.
15th. Okay.
15th, I'm pretty sure.
It's because St. Patty's, March 17th is when free agency starts.
And the legal tampering opens March 15th. So you got the 48 hours there.
Keyword being legal. Right.
Yeah.
But here's the thing for me. I like Kareem Jackson's play a ton. I love KJack TV. It's an article that I wrote about again. And, when John Clayton's saying he thinks he could be a cap casualty, I think he could as well. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if K-Jack would be willing to stay for less. I'm not sure if Von Miller is willing to stay for less. And, obviously read about Von Miller's latest news regarding his case. I don't know how to refer to it. A legal case. There were never charges dropped, but the investigation has concluded with Von Miller. If you want to find out more about that, please check out milehighhuddle.com as we move along. But Joshua Trujillo coming in. Kareem Jackson can get released, and I would not shed a tear. Whoa. Von Miller, I believe, will restructure his contract to retire a Bronco. Miller leaves, I riot. Man, dude, Kareem Jackson's getting a little bit of I'm not going to say hate because I can't stand it when people call me a Drew Lock hater, but I think Kareem Jackson are looking at him as an aging player, a player that's going out there and knocking out his own players and everybody else last year, an absolute missile. I'm a little surprised to see this. What say you, Nick? I mean, K-Jack, you want him on this team, and how much do you want him on the team for?
I would love Kareem Jackson on this team I would give him a contract offer, probably 3-year, $22 million. And I would lower that cap hit this year to about $6 million and not have as much guaranteed on that third year. But it's not like his play is dropping off. He went from boundary cornerback with some slot work to safety in this double high split field safety defense. And he's a good fit here. And safeties are one of those positions where they don't tend to fall off a cliff after the athleticism starts to leave. It's not like edge rusher. It's not like cornerback. It's not like many wide receivers where those positions, it's so based on twitch that once that physical ability starts to dwindle, it's like, oh my God, like this is sad. I mean, not to be that guy, but like when Champ Bailey went off the cliff, it was like, oh my, like this is hard to watch. But that's not the case for safety. Go ahead.
When he got cut by the Saints, I felt so sorry for him because I'm like, this is a Hall of Famer. You don't deserve this, Champ. Like, don't do this to yourself, man. You're better than that, and it's tough.
Cornerbacks, baby, they're so reliant on that twitch, and once it goes, it's that's why that 30-year-old, if you're over 30 at corner edge, it's like, do we want to pay him? That's why it's so tough with Von Miller. I mean, you want to pay him. What is it going to be? You could clear $18 million against the cap, where Von Miller is great, but he's coming off an injury. He's going to be 32 years old. And also he's a speed player. The power rushers are the guys who actually tend to age better. That's a more translatable long-term skill set. It's the twitch guys, the speed guys who, once they lose that, they really lose a lot of their effectiveness. So it's concerning. We'll see what happens, but it's a little concerning. But guys who age like safeties, I mean, the one that comes to mind for me is Charles Woodson. The guy obviously played cornerback for a while, but he was playing until he was like 38, 39. Great player.
Yeah, great player. A fun player to watch. I hate him on the Raiders. I hate him. Yeah, he's just one of those guys. An interesting career, man. Really interesting career. But Robert Caslow coming in with a question, speaking about cornerback and safety and what the Broncos are going to do in the secondary. Is Bryce Callahan locked in for the 2021 season? And of course, Robert Caslow is referring to the same Bryce Callahan that has never completed an NFL season healthy. And gosh dang it, Nick, he was having a fantastic season last year. He impressed me. He impressed coaches. He impressed Broncos country. I thought, to be honest, he was on track for a Pro Bowl nod. I really did. I'm not going to say all pro, but I think he was in the conversation for a Pro Bowl nod. He was a top corner. I'm not going to say he's 1 or 2, but I would at least include him in the top 10 for his play. Talk a little bit about Bryce Callahan. I know he's under contract, at least for one more season. Is that right?
Yes, one more season. I'm not sure exactly the details are, but he's a guy that, you hope to get him next year, 14 games, but his injury history, you don't think you're going to keep him the whole season. So that's another reason you need cornerback depth. Obviously, when you have Callahan out there, it's a huge boon to the whole defense, but it's a reason that you probably really need to fortify the secondary, especially at cornerback. And Mike Kliss recently had an interview where he had like a 2-minute interview that was just dropping nuggets left and right. I got 3 articles out of it. I mean, God bless you, Kliss. But he said that the Broncos, Peyton, would be targeting a cornerback in free agency as the team's number one outside the organization addition, a cornerback in free agency, as well as looking at a cornerback in the first 2 rounds. So this is a team that need. I mean, obviously that doesn't mean that Ojemudia is worthless or Callahan's not in the plans anymore, but you need 4 good cornerbacks, especially with how much nickel you're playing these days, especially in the AFC West, which is becoming the Big 12 of football with how many just bombs away offenses there are with the pass game. You need cornerbacks. You need them. Manny Weiss let Jackson go and draft Hassim Nasruddin. That's I like Nasruddin, fine. But I hate the idea of pigeonholing yourself to a singular position or a singular player.
Who else said that?
Draft.
Who else said that just a couple days ago about pigeonholing? Vic
I don't know.
Fangio. That's exactly what he said. I don't want to pigeonhole myself in any situation. And he was talking about cornerback, Nick. To your point, he was talking about, because I think Vic Fangio is seeing in the news. Now, look, Vic Fangio doesn't have Twitter. We all know that. But Vic Fangio is studying
Vic Fangio's burner account.
Yeah, Vic Fangio's burner account is just lethal. It's just absolutely lethal. Oh, man, just like Base Case, one of our good friends, a good friend of the show as well. But, dude, I don't know, man. It's hard to say. It really is. And with Vic Fangio, and he's like, look, Patrick Surtain, to me, he was talking about Patrick Surtain and Caleb Farley. And you know, they've got different body types. He's always asked about his ideal corner, and his old answer, I just want him to play football. We get it, coach. You know, we get it. And coaches' interviews are always a little more lively than some of the others. And I think he had a
more
slip
from
of
him than Peyton. Honestly.
But
like when he talked,
he had a slip of a tongue, I thought, about Drew Lock. I don't know if we can get the quotes. I don't have the Broncos quotes in my email. I don't know if you got them, but the thing that I think he said, and we can go back, and maybe Jay, you could help me with this for just a little bit. And Jay, I asked him to pull up Bryce Callahan's contract details, and he did. So his 2021 contract right now, it looks like he is under contract. What would that be for? Is that 12? That's not 12 million for this year.
I'm not sure. I would have to look it up. Oh, he's pulling it up here. Even better. Zoom in there, would you? Oh gosh, my eyes.
And it's tough with Callahan because I've got so many frustrations because the guy doesn't mean to get hurt. He's obviously had problems with that foot. He was on
8.5
like
million.
I said. 8.5. Dude, that's a little expensive. You want to talk about cap casualties? I think that could be a potential cap casualty. What's the debt?
Oh man, but you're really
1.7. Yeah.
That I don't think it's worth. I think it's more worth it to keep him on the roster than you're going to be paying for less. So I would keep him at possible. Boye was the obvious release there. But yeah, no, it is interesting. I did want to get to that question from Robert Caslow. Would it make sense for the Broncos to go a cornerback and two cornerbacks in the first 2 days? If the board falls that way, you bet your ass. I mean,
Patrick, my boy Patrick,
wrong way.
My boy Patrick Surtain and Elijah Molden, boom, or Caleb, Caleb Farley. I mean, absolutely. And I've heard that take. And
you want a spicy take?
My boy
Great.
Tyler Columbus is saying do that on 104.3 right now. He's like, dude, they talk about doing wide receivers last year. What if you go corner? Stink is saying it too. And I'm like, dude, maybe these offensive linemen got it right. Because if it falls that way and the Broncos, for the love of God, need help at secondary, Nick, why not?
Yeah.
And yes, I want to hear your hot take. It's going to bother people. I can already tell.
It's going to bother you.
It's going to bother me, which is even worse. I can see the smile on your face. You're getting ready to trigger me. Hit me with it. Hit me.
I think with a Vic Fangio specific big board, match quarters defense, I think Greg Newsome, I'm going to have him higher ranked on my board than Patrick Surtain. I don't think Patrick Surtain has the ability to play off man. I think if you don't put him in a press heavy scheme, your door's opening behind you. Hopefully no dog or kitty's coming in there.
It's a dog and she's a husky, and I'm gonna hope that she doesn't freak out. All right. So you don't think you said that was press man?
I think Surtain is press man heavy, and I think press man in general is not going the way of the dodo, but that's very much tied to the single high defenses, like the Wade Phillips styles, where you have the press man coverage across the board with that single high free safety. That's not the wave right now. Teams across the league are going to this too high defense, this match quarters with Fangio. And I mean, you've seen it with the Packers, seen it with the Rams, seen it with the Chargers. All these teams are wanting this Vic Fangio style defense. And that means your cornerbacks are playing off coverage. And when Patrick Surtain, has to recover, I just don't see that twitch ability. I do not see the hips. I don't think he has that ability. If Broncos were still playing the Wade Phillips style defense, sign me up for J.C. Horn. Sign me up for Patrick Surtain.
I like J.C. Horn too.
That's not what they're playing.
He was one of my top 5. Was he one of your top 5 guys when we did that?
No, because I don't like him for the defense. I don't.
Because you don't like him. He's a football player. Vic Fangio's not going to be here after next year anyway. Nick, I'm telling you right now.
I hope the scheme stays.
Unless the Broncos unless the Broncos, I hope the scheme stays. So why would, oh man, you got me fired up. He's got me fired up on MHI. Nick Kendell, he knows how to get under my skin. Okay, so if they get rid of Vic Fangio, it wouldn't be because of his defense. It would be because he's a bad head coach. So maybe they do adopt the defense because, to your point, Nick, Vic Fangio's defense is being emulated all across the league right now. The emphasis on linebackers right now is so important. And I'm just going to tease it right now. I got a piece coming out on 3 linebackers the Broncos need to consider in the second round is where I like your linebackers, especially if you're not a Micah Parsons fan. I am, but certainly understand why others are not. And that's the best thing, having a difference of opinion. So here in our last segment, let's roll it out. James Campbell, one of our own. It is worth pointing out that rookie corners would struggle in their first year. Absolutely, they're going to struggle in their first year. And I've always said it, I think Michael Ojemudia got a little bit of a raw deal. I don't know. He was in Fangio's doghouse for reportedly not tackling well enough. I kind of scratched my head. I wrote articles about that. Didn't quite understand it. Was he out of position at times? Absolutely. Did he lose position battles? Sure. But those things, to James Campbell's point, are to be expected with rookie corners. Here is the problem I've got with Caleb Farley. I worry about some of those injuries, right? But
that's the one.
That's the big thing for me. And that back problems really, really worry me. It's amazing what guys can do with and gals and any athlete in the world with ACLs and MCLs in today's day and age. It's absolutely shocking. Unless you're Bradley Chubb, knock on wood, I hope everything is done there because God bless that man. He needs to stay healthy and play football with his 2 ACLs. But I worry about it, man. I worry about the back. He is definitely more athletic than Patrick Surtain, but I think Patrick Surtain is more, I think some of those intangibles for Patrick Surtain play into draft capital for me. They really do. I think he is probably a little bit more professional ready in knowing about how to handle his business. That's not to say that Caleb Farley has anything wrong. He is very well known for preparation and being a leader, which is important as well. But
former quarterback, he's smart. He's a smart one.
Dude, they're both. And here's the thing, something else I pointed out on Twitter too. You can prefer one, but like both. Would I be upset if they drafted Farley? No. Not at all. I would still be pumped and happy. Would I be bummed? No, because the Broncos need a corner. Yes, they can go corner in back-to-back rounds if they choose to, but with Elway out of the picture, I don't think George Payton's going to roll that way.
I mean, but what about George Spielman and the Vikings? I mean, how many first-round picks, second-round picks over the last 5 years have they invested in cornerbacks? It's like every year. It's like, George Zimmerman and the Vikings are on the clock. Can they not take a defensive back? So, you never know. People keep drawing conclusions about, the Vikings, maybe Peyton's going to take a running back early because the Vikings are, it's almost a joke. Every single year they're taking a cornerback in the middle of the end of the first round. So I think it's definitely on the table. And if the Broncos went, let's say Caleb Farley, round 1 at 9, and then took Eric Molden at 40, Molden, who has some, Elijah Molden, who has some, he's 190, he's 5'10". So while he's short, that dude is squat and he's got great instincts. And I think you have a little bit of honey badger ability there where he's going to do some slop, but he can also do some safety stuff. And everybody's like, I want Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Fangio has not historically used hybrids that are the safety linebacker types. No. But the safety nickelback types, he's in. He loves those guys. And I think Molden and Asante Samuel are both guys, he said, I don't care about the size if they play. And when you're not playing press, like Fangio does, the Broncos used the second lowest rate of press in the entire NFL last year at 11% for the boundary cornerbacks. Big reason I'm thinking Surtain/Horn are not really fits because I think if you take them out of press, they're not that great. Or they're not like first round caliber if you're not pressing.
And he struggles with that deep, right?
Yep, exactly. They just don't have the twitch. And also I think if you put Horn in an off coverage, his rookie year, he's leading the league in penalty yards. No doubt about it. That dude grabs like crazy, but he's very aggressive, but I think he would lead the league in penalty yards. So if they want to go back to back, I would be in, man. Especially Molden and Fairley. Sign me up, baby.
Oh man, that's an athletic corner and then like a little bulldog. too.
Yeah,
Like a little bulldog.
I'm in.
And speaking of that, dude, I want my boy Will Parks back. I wrote about that this last week at milehighhuddle.com.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to cost that much to get Will Parks back. He likes the Broncos. The Broncos like him. He is a fit for a Vic Fangio defense that I know I'm not going to say you love because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you like the bend but don't break defense. At times I can get a little sour on Vic Fangio, the head coach, and it makes me grouchy about his defense, but the guy knows linebackers. So get ready for my piece coming out of milehighhuddle.com because there are 3 linebackers at least to look at in the second round that I think Vic Fangio would fall in love. But speaking of falling in love, Mundungus Creevy, he loves to fall in love with MHI on Saturday night, a friend of the show, as well as MHRT. Get at them. If Shelby Harris gets priced out of Denver, what are your thoughts on Sheldon Rankins? Now, here's the thing. I know our guy at Mile High Huddle, Zach Kelberman, just ask him. He'll tell you pay Shelby Harris. I see so many pay Shelby Harris, pay Justin Simmons. I get it. Dude, the Broncos don't have to pay Shelby Harris. They don't have to. Why? They could still, I think, get him back on a reasonable deal. Nick, you wrote about this on milehighhuddle.com about a Broncos insider saying that, wait a second, cool your jets. We're not so sure.
I mean, defensive line specifically is a position that is pretty often those guys get those second contracts and they don't see the end of them and they are released. And in a year with a restricted cap, you're going to see, I think, a good number of street free agents via interior defensive line. So I'm waiting to see what that commotion looks like. But there are a number of names. I mean, could you see a Derek Wolfe reunion in the cards for cheap coming back in a scheme fit? I mean, that makes sense to me. You don't think so? Okay, I think that no. Okay, maybe for cheap, a Henry Anderson is really cheap, and one that makes sense also is a guy that he's been stuck behind Akeem Hicks for a while, but Roy Robertson Harris is another name. You're going to get more from Draymond Jones this year. Obviously, Mike Purcell's coming back. You have to bring in a body. It doesn't have to be a $10 million a year level guy, though.
I'm going to give you credit on Draymond Jones because this is something that we went back and forth a lot on the summer. You're like, watch out for Draymond Jones. I'm like, really? And you were right, man. You were right. I know you were right. I think, that I remember, debating with you a little bit. I knew we both loved Jarrell Casey, but we saw that coming, that release and stuff like that. And, my guy Cecil over there at 104.3 absolutely loves Draymond too, but it'll be interesting to see with the Malik Reed. Now, some people I think are prematurely calling Malik Reed a Shaq Barrett. And I can appreciate that, but we're just not there yet with Malik Reed. I like him a lot. There's been some awesome pieces about Malik Reed. I think we've got one up on milehighhuddle.com. I know Troy Rank has definitely killed it, and we definitely feature him out in some of our work, in addition to Kliss, Adam Schefter, the guys over at KOA, the guys over at The Fan. Everybody does a great job, and we are rolling into our last 5 minutes. So let's let it rip. I want to get
to you real quick. Some tropes that kind of bother me in Broncos country over the last few years based on our history. I think people need to understand how exceedingly rare the caliber of player in Shaquille Barrett as an edge rusher is as a UDFA. That's exceedingly rare. Edge rusher is typically a first round position. Like the guys with the traits get picked early. The NFL is really good at evaluating them. So there are guys who fall through the cracks, obviously, like Shaquille Barrett. But just because you had a Shaquille Barrett undrafted free agent doesn't make Malik Reed the next Shaquille Barrett. And that goes double for Asang Bassi being the next Chris Harris Jr. It's typically cornerback, early round position. And I know Asang Bassi, undrafted free agent, the next Chris Harris Jr. Stop it. Very, very, very. The fact you got one of those guys for the level they are is, exceedingly rare. Not like Tom Brady, 6th round rare, but that just doesn't happen. And then to have it that we have another guy just replace immediately doesn't happen very often. The other one that drives me nuts is because of the Broncos winning the Super Bowl 50. Everybody's like, you have to build this elite defense. Elite defenses are a flash in the pan. Best way to succeed in the NFL year after year, get that quarterback. So
How
those are just two that I'm sorry.
Dare you, dude? Defense wins championships. Ask Kansas City. That's the first thing that everybody's going to say. I'm going to throw some wet water on your wet water. Man, I hear you. Because as fans, and if I take my analyst hat on and I'm a fan, and I am, dude, at heart, I'm a fan, but I don't get paid to just talk about how much I love the Broncos. Yeah. I have to look at things analytically. I have to tell the truth, even when the truth hurts. But the thing is, man, I understand why fans connect potential to what could be, because sometimes you see it and other times you don't. But to your point, these guys are not only different players, but they're different men. And Malik Reed has had an awesome story. I encourage anybody to go read about some of his personal struggles in his life and losing some friends in his life that kind of changed him, why he wears the number 4. It's not 48. That's Shaq. That was Shaq's old number. What number is do we know, Malik? 59. He's wearing 59.
59. Yeah, absolutely.
He's wearing 59. So check that out. But yeah, Nick, you're right, man. It's hard to start comparing players. And I think he led the team in sacks. So it's easy for Broncos country to kind of hop on that wagon of, okay, well, you could just get rid of Chubb, even if he was in a trade. And Vaughn, don't worry. We've got Malik Reed. Slow down just a little bit there. Slow down, because Broncos country, you know better than anybody. You need 2 pass rushers. Hell, sometimes even 3, Nick, because one just doesn't do it anymore in today's NFL.
Especially not in the AFC West, where the worst quarterback in the division outside of Denver is probably the 10th to 15th best in the NFL.
Look at this, Nick.
As the next Kevin Green.
Look at my boy Clifton. I love it, Clifton, because I got to meet Derek and scout him last year. Well, last offseason. The next Kevin Green, man. A different body types for me, man. Tuska's so lean. I think he's been working on putting weight on, but Tuska's gonna have to come out this year.
Does he have to move off the ball? Is he an edge? His frame is so slender. I don't know if he can hang as a full-time edge defender. And
I think he likes his hand in the dirt, and he's undersized, so that's tough, right? Yeah. Because he's kind of he's lean, and he doesn't have the meat that like DeMarcus Ware had.
Just ask your girlfriends, guys. Length matters. Right?
Nick's going to get us in trouble in the last 2 minutes. We've been doing good with the audio. We've been doing, my dog came in. She didn't throw a fit, but you guys have been absolutely killing it. And just want to say what's up to a few people on the way out. We got Cliff Harris coming in saying, thanks for the shout out, fellas. Cliff, thank you. Thank you for joining MHI tonight. I was telling Nick, I was grouchy all day, but I couldn't wait to get to Saturday night show because you guys make my night. Mundungus coming in. What about Sternad and maybe Milano, if not Sternad? We've got Sternad articles up at milehighhuddle.com as well.
Yeah.
Justin Sternad, he's been getting a lot of love. It's almost like they think he's an all-pro coverage linebacker already. Me, Nick, not so fast. I like the potential. Let's see how his recovery went.
He raises the floor of the room, and he means that it's essentially you're getting another draft pick this year. You used let's say early day 3 pick on a coverage linebacker. Just assume that's coming into this class. So great. I would have no issue if they went linebacker decently early, or if they missed on it too. I think that linebacking room actually has a decently high floor. Like the linebackers last year did not kill this team. It was the cornerbacks that was the straw that broke the camel's back, and also honestly some pass rush concerns as well. It would be. I think Sternad can be awesome this year. Maybe getting a little bit overhyped. I don't know what I.
Yep, I agree with that.
It's. Not to say anything, Luke, but this is kind of like this is me also with Alberto Cuebanam. Like, 3rd round pick or day 3 pick. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's see what he can do over a long period of time.
You're just worried that Drew Lock's bestie is coming for your bay. At Iowa. Here's what I'll say.
Noah baby, I'm in.
Oh yeah, I bet you are. Noah Fant, dude, I want that guy healthy. Because that guy was doing great things with one leg last year, dude. And I've completely changed my stance. But I don't think the Broncos don't need a blocking tight end. How about that? If the Broncos offense, Shermer doesn't know how to use the tight end anyway. So can we just use them all as receivers? I hope so. I wrote a piece about Alberto coming back, talking a little bit about that, talking to Eric Dalala of the DenverBroncos.com, a friend of the show as well. But guys, we're starting to wrap it up here. So I just want to come up with just a couple more quick questions. I'm going to give you a rapid fire, Nick. Are you ready? On the way out. Todd's coming in here with a question. Chuba Hubbard or Ramondre Stevens?
I guess I lean Hubbard because I've worked on him more, but if Stevens has a good pro day, the body type is so interesting. And in the era of spread football where there's less guys in the box, if you have a 240-pound running back that has a little bit of steam, that's a really good kind of guy to have. But I lean towards Hubbard there. My guy, honestly, I really like Kylan Hill from Mississippi State. That's my day 3 running back of choice.
I like him too. And what's up, Albert? Thanks for joining MHI as we're on our way out. Be sure to head on over to Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast, YouTube even, and check out our podcast at your convenience. We still appreciate that. And as we're on the way out, Mundungus coming in with a $4.99 super, been absolutely crushing it as the rest of our MHH superstars and our team has tonight. Here we go, Mundungus. He's triggered Nick. Look, Nick's got his hat off. Just like, thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, dude. He had to do this because he got me all mad twice. Nick does. He knows how to do it. Max Duffy, the punter from Kentucky at pick 9. All problems solved. Max Duffy is going to come in and save Tom McMahon's job. How's this for a hot take? Tom McMahon will be a head coach with Max Duffy in the next 2 years if the Broncos get him at 9.
That's rank. That's so rank. I'm going to need to like wipe down my computer screen with the crop mop after
with
this.
With the crop mop and Manscaped's got your back.
It's got to refresh my computer here because, oh my gosh, a punter at 9. Al Davis is gone. Boom, says Mundungus. Get out of here. I don't know about that. One more question before we get out of here, Luke. I know we got to roll. We had multiple people ask it in the thread. Oh, number one, Mond is in this draft. Chris Sims, maybe we can have a conversation at some point about his quarterback rankings because they're interesting, but he's done really well the last few years. He was not good in 2017, but, interesting nonetheless. I don't like the echo chamber, so to discuss that and get a different perspective is always great. I will say the question that we've been seeing, Mitchell Trubisky, 1-year deal, guy to come in and compete with Locke. I mean, I kind of feel the same way, maybe even lesser than Sam Darnold, but you're not having to trade for him. Very similar to Drew Lock, right? Now, maybe one of them figures it out and gets it, but I think that, are you really, what are you adding to the room other than, duplicating what you have? It's a Spider-Man pointing meme, right?
Sure. Yeah. Another name that you're seeing out there connected with the Denver Broncos. I think you got to turn over every rock and you got to look at him. But my initial thought is he's not an alpha dog. He's not a leader. I think he'll be a journeyman quarterback and maybe he'll get a shot to grow and be salvaged. He's very salvageable, just like Drew Lock. But man, I would just much rather roll out with Drew Lock. I don't know how much older Mitch Trubisky is than Drew Lock, maybe a few years, right? Maybe 2 or 3. But it's just too young a quarterback for me. I think if that's the case, I'd rather go with the old dog who claims he's retiring. I'm just going to say claims so I don't get Mike mad at me on our way out the door. But reports from John Clayton. I like the question, Nick, and it's a quarterback carousel. It's rolling on. You still see Andy Dalton's name. You see Jacoby Brissett. Alex Smith now. He's a great story, guys, but no, the Broncos do not need him.
And Mike coming in here. Where's the news that Fitz is retiring? John Clayton, who's as plugged in as anybody, said that it's coming down the track. So not official yet. I guess anything could change until it is official. But if John Clayton says it, you probably need to take note. So I always say John Clayton. I like John Clayton, Adam Schefter in terms of now. I'm not going to throw local stuff out, right? Because everybody has preferences for who the local insiders are, and I'll get in trouble. And I always get in enough trouble as it is. But Shefty, I love listening to Shefty. You got Ian Rappaport, I think is very respectable as well. I don't know about how you feel, how I'm doing so far. Jeff Legwald. Also, all these guys are way shorter than you'd think they'd be. That's all I can think about. You think at the combine, it's like meeting Ian Rappaport.
Well, what are you, like 6'3"? I mean,
I'm 6'1". Legwood is not that short, but Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport,
a little guy.
John Clayton. These are some little dudes. I mean, there's a reason they're probably reporting rather than playing in the league.
I don't know that, dude.
Out there kicking.
Adam Schefter's Lambeau Leap, go YouTube that. On our way out right now, I just want to say go YouTube Adam Schefter's Leap. And then I got to hear him talk about it, I think, on one of the local radio stations. And he was like, dude, I was training for a marathon. My legs were sore. I was just trying to not tear my MCL with his 2.5-inch vertical. It was great. Absolutely great. Back when football was rolling, but we appreciate you guys so much. You guys are absolutely, you make our Saturday nights. I had a blast, man. This hour always goes by way too quick.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by today. Saw a lot of familiar names, but a lot of new ones as well. If you guys liked the show today, best thing you can do to help us is like, subscribe, and share. You click that little bell icon on YouTube. That way you know when we go live, and you can come join us and come talk some football. Obviously, we're the guys with the mics, but you guys are the ones behind the keyboards, and you keep the show rolling, giving us direction and really being the main drivers of our conversations. You guys can find Luke on Twitter at Luke Patterson LP. You can also find myself on Twitter at Nick Kendell MHH. And also make sure you find John on Twitter as well. Always super great. I mean, I love John. This show wouldn't be here without John too. Everybody, thumbs up in the chat for John. Follow him on Twitter at JohnKMHH. Also, guys, make sure you head on over to milehighhuddle.com for all of our written content and the MHH community content. Like I said, had 12 articles in the last 6 days. I know that Luke is working hard. The season's over, but the grind never stops, and the grind is really hard right now. I mean, February, March, April, crazy amount of content. I don't think anybody does it like Mile High Huddle as far as off-season content.
Well, I'll pat us on the back because we are crushing it. Our stats just came out for our publication, and Mile High Huddle is absolutely crushing this landscape. Best Broncos coverage. Be sure to check out the pod coming on tomorrow night. I think there's even a Kelberman's Corner at noon. Yep. And I'm getting the nod from John right now, so that looks good. And then Huddle Up's going to be on tonight. So appreciate you guys for rocking with us. And yeah, man, Nick, take us out, baby. Take us out.
Yep. Follow us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at MHI_football pod. Also, Facebook listeners, I see we're at 29. Maybe just one more like in the chat, one more heart react, one more laugh react. Let's get up to that Troll Davis 30. It always kind of like, I see it 29 right now. Just come on. Somebody's going to do it.
Maybe Philip Lindsay. It'd be Philip Lindsay. Good juju.
Okay. Well, maybe it will be like that on the end. But for right now, guys, we got to get out of here. We got other things to go. 29 is a good number too. Bradley Roby, that's an okay end of the first round pick. You don't have the Super Bowl probably without him. Investing in the no-fly zone, maybe that's in the future for the Broncos as well, now that we have Peyton coming in. But that's going to do it for tonight, guys. Stay safe, have fun, and go Broncos.